All music is about getting laid or not getting laid. Rock and roll is about getting laid. All day and all of the night, my ding-a-ling, tutti-frutti, oh Rudy. Folk music is about wanting to get laid, thinking about it, what it must be like, but not getting laid. Rap music is about getting laid, and pretty quickly, too, before some crazy motherfucker caps you or your ass gets thrown in jail. Pop music is about pleasing yourself without a partner. The blues is about not getting laid. And in the case of the blues, you're not getting laid, not because you don't want to. In fact, you're dying to get laid, but you're not going to do it because your partner has either thrown you out or caught you cheating or has left you a note. Freud was right when he said that sexual frustration could generate enough energy to build the Eiffel Tower out of hat pins. I don't know for sure if he said that exactly, but it was something like that, and I think you can hear that in the music. Polka, that's a tough call, but I'm pretty sure it's about getting laid. Disco is the same thing. It's about getting laid, but the focus isn't there the way it is with rock and roll or rap. The urgency. It's more like, sure, we'll get to it, but right now, let's party. If getting laid is a diamond, then polka and disco are paste, rhinestones, what they call costume jewelry. The waltz, being old-fashioned, which is okay, nothing wrong with that, is about making love, which is still getting laid, but much more complicated. Salsa, mambo, tango, all of that, it's about getting laid in style, like a ritual. I don't mean to throw sand in the gears, but there are exceptions to all of this. For example, to be specific, Janis Joplin, a rock and roll singer, but she was all about not getting laid. So it is possible to go directly against the grain and still get the job done. The Doors, Jim Morrison, he wanted to get laid in the worst way, but for some reason he was unable to seal the deal. The Rolling Stones were always about getting laid and getting a little snotty if anyone objected to that. The Beatles, when they started out, were pointed in the right direction. They wanted to get laid. And they went through a long, productive period of foreplay, which led them right up to the point of getting laid, but then, influenced by drugs and swamis, they began to think about what there might be beyond that, past getting laid, and that was it for them, because rock and roll is not about either getting laid or not getting laid, is just the sound of one hand clapping, which takes you back to pop music. Classical music is a broad category, and I'm no expert. Bach, I would say, was definitely getting his on a consistent basis. Beethoven, sometimes he was getting laid, and other times he was not. The early Mozart, by early I mean when he was an adult, not a 6-year-old prodigy, he was clearly getting laid. His last pieces, not so much. Wagner and Mahler, I have no idea. Jazz, in the beginning, was all about getting laid. But then it was about getting high, which was interesting, certainly, but problematic, because it then became a matter of trying to stay high all the time, which was not possible and often fatal. Anyway, you get the idea. Whenever you're listening to some music, all you have to do is think, is this person getting some or not? I think the answer will be quite clear. Before I go, I thought I might try to answer a few famous musical questions and examine some legendary slogans. For example, is the answer really blowing in the wind? No, it's not. A team of meteorologists at Southwest Texas A&M did some research, and they were unable to find any answer in the wind. And they looked at all kinds of wind, from breezes up through gusts and on to tornadoes. Right now, they're unable to continue their investigation due to a lack of government funding, but when they're able to resume research, they intend to study cloud formations. On the other hand, and there always is that other hand, dust in the wind, all we are is dust in the wind. Those same scientists at Southwest Texas A&M found this to be true, ultimately, but they also noted that the dust is just that, dust, and not the answer. Okay. Where have all the flowers gone? Well, it's that dust again. They're dead. It's a seasonal thing. No reason to get excited. They'll be back and then they'll go again. That's the way it works. Why don't we do it in the road? As I was saying about the Beatles, eventually they did get to the point where their music was about getting laid. To answer the question, there are laws and also cars and trucks, not to mention gravel, but if you want to ignore all of that, it's your life. Knock yourself out. Can't we all just get along? I know it wasn't a musical question. You know that right away because it's not about getting laid or not getting laid. But to answer the question anyway, no, we can't. Will you still love me tomorrow? Maybe. What kind of a question is that? Ask me tomorrow. To answer that question, I would say, Papa's got a brand new bag. Or, goodness gracious, great balls of fire. Make love, not war. Seems to be a simple decision, but the trick here is that real multiple choice questions always give you at least 4 choices. So let's say A, make love, and B, make war, and C, make money, and D, make bacon, lettuce, and tomato sandwiches. Now you can choose. If you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem. This is true. For myself, I'm part of the problem, and it doesn't bother me that much. I guess I've learned to live with it. Maybe that's my problem. If you want to know if he loves you so, it's in his kiss. This is true, but the trouble arises because you can't always tell, and you can be fooled, like by guys who are part of the problem. What's love got to do with it? Nothing, unless somebody comes along and gums it up. Then it's waltz time, or they start singing things like all you need is love, a sure sign your judgment is shot and your brains have been turned to mush by drugs. And finally, Mars ain't the kind of place to raise your kid. I know that's not a question, but I put it before you to silence those critics who feel that music is confusing and often makes no sense.